In a time before our time, rains of fire, titanic floods, and absolute darkness exterminated the living from the surface of the earth. All that was left were the scattered, petrified remains of those who once roamed the planet, and the real origins of humanity were fractured between theories and myths. However, magnificent remnants of our past kept being revealed over the centuries, achievements that suggest a forsaken people and nature, much more advanced and fantastical than our current doctrine could allow us to consider. Afflicted with amnesia, mankind searched to rebuild their world while making sense of the tragedy lived by our giant ancestors. But in the hope to avoid the next cataclysm, humans were destined to rekindle their limitless heroic spirit and secure a future of abundance rather than of cyclical damnation. The time has come for the living to discover once more the glory of our ascent, and to rely on our instinctive faith and senses over the boundaries of a fearful worldview. Join this lifelong quest for the truth, and welcome to Dragonlands Planet Ki. Episode 2: Those Who Turn to Stone. Modern-day science argues against the existence of giant creatures based on the square-cube law of Galileo.
You're not going to have an Empire State Building sized reptile.
Exactly.
Because it can't hold itself up.
Exactly.
With a very interesting, you know about this? They teach this, I don't know if they teach this outside of like Physics 101. But
Right.
So as you get bigger,
Yeah.
your volume grows, your weight goes up according to your volume.
Yeah,
But the strength of your limbs goes up only according to this cross-sectional area. So it's a matter of area versus volume.
So Godzilla
would collapse under his own weight into a puddle of
Goo.
guts. Yes, correct.
Further theoretical reasoning comes from the understanding that there is not enough atmospheric oxygen today to enable the proper functioning and growth of giants, and that the surface of the Earth couldn't provide the necessary means of survival for anything much bigger than the extinct dinosaurs and living whales. The ancients, however, not only interpreted reality in a different set of laws, but also had very similar narratives when it comes to the origins of human life, according to which the giants had a very relevant role to play up until their near complete extinction, after which their existence quickly fell into oblivion. In opposition to mainstream narrative, a more recent field of thought arose, the Mudfossils Theory, a research that syncretizes myths and religious accounts with our historical chronology, making use of advanced scientific methods. The Mudfossils Theory defends that there is material evidence to suggest and prove that giant creatures did exist in the past, but were mostly killed off by cataclysmic events. Their remains were then fossilized and are scattered over the planet, but haven't been recognized or studied by authorities who prefer to keep a blind eye on the subject. Keep in mind that we're not only dealing with the scale of dinosaurs, but also unfathomably large beings that most would think could not be real. It is indeed very common nowadays to dismiss ideas that force us to question our reality, since we are the product of a massive educational project that aims at extinguishing curiosity and keeping the mass docile and unaware, so to say, easy to manipulate and corrupt.
Mountains were born and mountains collapsed. Land and sea changed places. Great streams of lava flowed. The sea boiled and evaporated. Such were the scenes of unimaginable violence during the times of global catastrophe. In Worlds in Collision, Velikovsky describes the last two acts of this cosmic drama as recorded by the ancients. At the time of Moses, 34 centuries ago, a giant comet, which later became the planet Venus, nearly collided with the Earth. On two occasions, the Earth passed through the tail of this comet and experienced intense heating and enormous tides, incessant electric discharges, rains of hot stones, and a deluge of fire. Velikovsky claims that some of the oil deposits originated with the hydrocarbons in the comet's tail. This is also the source of manna that sustained the Hebrews after the exodus from Egypt.
Here in the New York Herald Tribune, Explosion in Science, the artist's conception of what happened when the heavens burst. What happened during the 1500 BC upheaval, which we read about in the Bible as the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt, and the phenomena or upheaval that accompanied that. And this is the artist's conception of what happened in Palestine and Mexico and China. Lightning, meteorites being rained down as the comet's head came closer to the Earth, followed by floods. Same in Mexico, where water swept over the entire land, great gigantic tides.
In a final collision with Mars, the comet lost the remnants of its tail and became transformed into the planet Venus. Now Mars traveled on an erratic orbit, and in the year 687 BC, it nearly collided with the Earth. There were repeated changes in the Earth's orbit, in the lengths of day, the seasons, and the year. In these catastrophes, entire species of animals were annihilated. Others proliferated from wholesale mutations. Mankind was decimated. Civilizations destroyed.
Man is irrational in everything what he does. As a species, the wars, the violence between classes, the misunderstandings, the racial questions, many things. And we are at the mercy of good luck, nothing else. Because otherwise it can happen that, as Freud taught us, a victim of amnesia is living under an urge to repeat the performance, to repeat the catastrophic event. And we have now enough destructive weapon to make this planet uninhabitable. And you cannot know when this unfortunate moment will come. In the night it may come. And therefore, nothing more important for human race as to know its past, be able to face it.
Surely, if our ancestors were not completely clueless, as we're led to believe, and had in fact witnessed a fantastical Earth, there would have to be some evidence left of this fairy tale that we can still investigate. For instance, the Greeks, Romans, Phoenicians, Mesoamericans, Chinese and Japanese, among many others, all provide detailed accounts of battles between gods, giants and monsters, describing how some of these creatures were big enough to throw mountains at each other, and their heads could brush the stars. Even though academia refutes these stories as metaphors or bad translations, the mystery of how could such diverse cultures portray very similar tales in different time periods lingers unanswered. What has become gradually clearer to those paying attention is that ignoring the inconsistencies of our narrative won't help us improve in any way, but in fact may bring upon us another dark age, since our blind faith in modern science leaves us in no better position than those exterminated before us. Censorship is the most effective tool against truth, and it has been working against us for thousands of years, but it's time we stop censoring ourselves. Truth is self-evident, and once real significant questions are being raised and passed around, humanity will quickly come to terms with our past, and finally look to the future with the capacity of progress. The thing about reality is that no matter what we believe, what is will still be regardless of interpretation. So we can either equip ourselves to better comprehend it, or reality will just keep happening beyond our grasp. So why is it relevant to know whether giants existed or not? Well, to begin with, if beings the size of mountains did live, we would be forced to deal with the idea that our world can in fact be much bigger than we imagine, for they would need to fit in it. Furthermore, we would need to revise the evolution of our species, given that a mankind of greater attributes and technological advancements would have preceded us. Overall, one could make the case that this is potentially the mystery to unlock all mysteries, and thus the reason it is widely dismissed as a silly subject by those that rule over the legitimacy of thought. One creature included among these glorious lost titans is the very well-known dragon, the reptilian apex predator considered a mythical foe of heroes and angels. But he wasn't singularly shaped as the present-day fire-breathing, flying dragon, but actually seemed to belong among many other subspecies, such as chimeric land and water dragons of varying sizes. A common thread between several legends and religious scriptures is the triumph of good over evil, and the ultimate slaying of the evil forces, who in many cases were turned to stone as a form of eternal punishment, to be a reminder of the consequences of wickedness, setting the example for future generations. Could this be the missing link to our true origin hiding in plain sight? And is it really possible that humans live obliviously surrounded by the petrified remains of their colossal ancestors? Find out more in the next segment of Dragonlands Planet Ki.